Well, welcome once again to the Ahern video podcast. Today I want to talk about stand up and be counted. I've been getting a lot of telephone calls after the recent CNBC news commentary about the trucking industry and how dangerous we are and how we're a nuisance to the public. And of course, right away, the American Trucking Association, Independent Owner Contractors Association, they jumped on CNBC and they said your statistics are skewed. They're wrong, you're wrong, and they invited them to participate in seeing what a truck driver has to actually go through. I look at it from a little bit different angle. I've said all along that one of the problems we have in this country is that we believe what we see in the newspaper. If I don't like you and I want to say you're a jerk and I post it, you believe it. You don't know what the circumstances are, but you assume that because somebody has posted that, it's the fact, and it isn't. In the trucking industry, what we have to do is stand up and be counted. I've consistently said you need to participate in the trucking associations. You need to endorse the trucking associations, because if you look at what's happening as a byproduct of all this bad press, what happens? Look at the claims that are happening today. Look at the settlements that are happening today. That directly impacts you, and believe it or not, that directly impacts the consumers, but they don't understand that. Anytime a big rig is in an accident, it's going to cause major damage. But people don't realize that statistically, private passengers vehicles are much more dangerous. They don't want to hear that. Why? Because the vast majority of people are private passengers. The vast majority of people are consumers. The vast majority of people see a serious accident and they automatically assume that everything or everybody in that industry typifies that particular accident, and it's not the truth. How do you resolve it? Well, you can get mad, you can get angry, but it's all about education. You start at the schools. You start at the communities, and you endorse your trucking associations. That's a fact of life. People always say, well, you're very outspoken, but we don't necessarily always agree with your views. I am a trucker. Yes, I'm educated, but I started loading trucks on the docks when I was 15 years old. Been able to put my kids through school because of the trucking industry. But I have learned one thing: knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more powerful you can become. I've also learned as I've aged that education is a very important of the process of changing people's opinions. If you see something in the paper and you hear about a tragedy and it hits home, don't you get angry? I do. I've always told the story about what happened to my one son. Very tragic accident, and never recovered from it. And to this day, every time I see him, my stomach turns. But that doesn't mean that because what happened to him, I've crucified that industry. What I was able to do is process what happened to him, process the environment he was in at that time, and then rationalize that, he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, that's what you have to do with trucking. Now, why do I get concerned? Because here's the reality of the situation. If you turn on the TV today, every law firm that you can think of has somebody saying, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I wasn't even injured, and I got $10,000. Well, now think about that. What we're doing is we're enforcing entitlement. Listen, if someone's injured and a truck is the cause of the injury, yes, they should be compensated. But 85 to 90% of the time, the truck is not at fault. I happened to be driving on the highway one day with my wife. We were at a convention, and this was a driver, and he pulls into the blind spot of a truck, and I'm saying, oh my gosh. And what happens? The truck hits us. And the driver's all nervous, and he's shaking, and he can't come out, and the driver pulls over, and he gets out, and he's a big guy with a flat top. So, automatically he assumes that this guy is what we personify, and he can't even talk, so I have to handle the accident. He came out and he was very polite. He gave him insurance. He says, look, it's my fault. You got into my blind spot, and blah, 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 blah. And I told him, listen, it's his fault, meaning the driver. And the driver just looked at me and didn't say anything. So they traded information. And then afterwards, I asked the driver, I said, how long have you been driving a limo? 3 weeks. Did you have any defensive driving? No. Do you know what a blind spot is in a truck? No. Do you know that you just automatically pulled out into his blind spot without signaling him, without doing anything, without letting him know that you were there? No. Who taught you how to drive? And his comment is, not my problem, it's the trucker's problem. And that's what I'm talking about. It's the educational process, and it's the respect that when there's a big rig on the road, you have to know what to do. In conclusion, what I'm telling you is that education is the only way that's going to stop your insurance rates from going up. It's the only way that's going to stop continued consolidation, because if we keep having these large judgments and we keep having these assumptions that we're a terrible industry, there's going to be so much consolidation that the little guy, which is middle America, which is trucking, is going to be gone, and you're going to have the giants, and they're going to control the marketplace. And guess what's going to happen to commodities? Well, when commodity prices go up, because shipping prices go up, then guess what's going to happen? Consumer spending goes down. I continually tell you, we're not where we need to be. We have 47 million people that are hunger deprived in this country, and we're trying to create billions of dollars to help other third world countries. The first thing we need to do is help ourselves. Trucking is the backbone of America, so support it, take care of it, or you may be a fatality yourself because your business won't be around. Thank you for attending the podcast.